This is WFYI News Now. It's August 20th, and I'm Abriana Herron. On today's show, a vote on a proposed data center happens today. Indiana's Republican U.S. House delegation backs President Donald Trump's push to redistrict. A dangerous intersection on the east side is set for an overhaul. And Indiana will put $5 million toward the expansion of mobile crisis response units.
So this is a really big push from them to make sure that Hoosiers across Indiana have access to the mental health crisis support that they need.
Those stories coming up, but first, a local cultural initiative weaves together the stories, artwork, and artifacts of Black Indianapolis residents to honor their history and identity. The Indy Black Heritage and Legacy Trail is a collection of temporary markers highlighting the unique voices and culture of predominantly Black neighborhoods across the city. Donicia Malone, the project manager, says one goal is to preserve local Black history.
We are everywhere, and there's so many different types of Blackness that exists in these neighborhoods, living beautifully.
Malone says her team prioritized community engagement during the development of the trail.
But specifically thinking about Black space and how Black people have moved across Marion County, in and out of Marion County to establish home sites.
The first 3 markers are now up at parks in Martindale, Brightwood, Hallville, and Norwood neighborhoods. 3 more markers are planned to be completed by the spring of 2026. The Indianapolis Rezoning Committee is expected to vote today on a proposed data center campus in Franklin Township. As Farrah Anderson reports, the vote would move the massive project one step closer to approval, despite months of pushback from residents.
Documents from a public records request reveal Google is behind the project. Residents have pushed back for months, raising concerns about the data center's water use, energy costs, the environment, and noise. Councilor Michael Paul Hart, a Republican who represents the area, has opposed the plan. But in June, a Development Commission examiner recommended approval, despite public opposition. If the rezoning advances, Hart could call for a city-county council hearing. At least 15 of the 25 councilors must vote to approve or reject it. If that doesn't happen, the commission's decision stands. I'm Farrah Anderson.
Indiana's Republican U.S. House delegation is backing President Donald Trump's push to redraw the state's congressional map. They voiced support Monday in statements. Congresswoman Victoria Spartz said it's time for Indiana to, quote, stand with President Trump and the state of Texas and redraw Indiana's congressional map, end quote. Governor Mike Braun has sole authority to call a special session of the General Assembly to redistrict. He has not said if he'll do it. Republicans already hold 7 of Indiana's 9 House seats. A mid-decade redraw ahead of the 2026 elections could help the GOP try to win 2 more. In 2021, Indiana redrew its maps following the usual post-census process that happens every 10 years, and Democratic lawmakers argue deviating from the schedule undermines fairness. A dangerous intersection on Indianapolis's east side is set for an overhaul. Jill Sheridan reports on redesign plans for the intersection of Rural Street and Massachusetts Avenue near the I-70 exit.
The project focuses on an intersection crossed by a railroad on the city's east side. The battered street experiences a high number of crashes, according to the Indiana Department of Transportation. The plans involve realigning Rural Street and the construction of the new raised road at the railroad crossing. Other improvements will replace traffic signals and improve crossings and sidewalks to be more accessible. Design for the project is about 30% completed. INDOT says the public is welcome to give input on the project through the end of the month. Construction will not start until 2027 at the earliest. I'm Jill Sheridan.
And for our final story today, Indiana is putting $5 million toward the expansion of mobile crisis response units in 5 counties. As Ben Thorpe reports, the funding will support teams of responders who will help residents in the midst of mental health or substance abuse crises.
Officials say 5 counties were selected for the funding based on data showing high rates of behavioral health crises and limited mobile response infrastructure. The state selected nonprofits focused on mental health and HIV prevention efforts in St. Joseph, Lake, Porter, Allen, and Vanderburgh counties. Jasmine Black is vice president of community health impact at Black Onyx Management, a consulting company. She says Indiana is putting funding towards communities that need it the most.
So this is a really big push from them to make sure that Hoosiers across Indiana have access to the mental health crisis support that they need.
Black says the goal will be to provide support to community members and reduce calls to police or visits to the emergency room. I'm Ben Thorpe.
That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Drew Dodlin and Zach Bundy, with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music, and I'm your host, Abriana Herron. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.